I'm so happy to see such a big audience, and I'm really humbled. My name is Dariusz. I'm from Poland, but I've been living in Stockholm, Sweden for the last almost 2 years right now, working for. I don't want to use the word startup because it's too big right now. It's a company called Spotify, and we try to make the world better with music. This is our goal. I created this very small website where I've put all the information that I'm going to talk about. So sometimes I'm going to refer to a book, and there's going to be a link to a book, and also there's going to be a very small survey that I want you to fill out after my talk. And it's the purpose of it is for you guys to give me feedback about how can I improve this presentation. All right, so this is a music product. So I want to start with actually playing some music. If that's going to work. Can you hear it?
Yeah.
Right. This is an album called Kind of Blue by Miles Davis. This is Miles Davis, and it was recorded in 1959. And it's a very special album that I want to talk about. Miles, he's a jazz trumpeter, and he was already an established figure in a jazz music area. And he already recorded a lot of albums, and he was pretty famous at this point, but he had a problem. He was very tired of what was happening back then in the music industry, in the popular music industry, including jazz. The genre that was being played back then was called bebop, and everyone already mastered it. There was nothing new going on, so if someone was into jazz and was listening to a lot of jazz records, there was no surprises. Everything sounded kind of the same. There was another guy named Charlie Parker who was the master of this genre, and basically everyone who wanted to make a career had to play something like that. So Miles was really tired and was looking for new means of expression, something that would allow him to innovate. And he found out this new thing going on that is called that was still called modal jazz. And it was very niche thing. It was just starting to get attention, and he wanted to give it a try. And the thing about modal jazz is that if you think about a regular jazz tune that was played back then, there are songs like, let's say, My Funny Valentine, where there is this main melody, and then there are chords behind the melody. So if you take a guitar and you're going to play the chords, you can sing it. So when there's a jazz combo and they are playing the melody, after that there is a set for improvisation for all the musicians, but everything is based on top of this melody. So there is, like, the audience can really expect what's going to happen like all the time. So there are no surprises. There is a pretty much well-defined structure. So we can call it pretty boring at this point. And the thing about modal jazz is that it contains a very simple set of rules. This piece of paper here, it's actually everything that defines a song in the modal jazz framework. Basically, it's a number of notes that you can play, and as long as you play those notes, it's going to sound good. So that was innovative, and that was something that that was really new to all the jazz musicians. So it's a simple structure using less chords, but one that gives a lot of flexibility. And he didn't invent this. This was invented by like another guy who was writing those postdoc thing about it. But Miles Davis recorded the first full modal jazz album, so in this sense, he was kind of like Steve Jobs, taking some innovation and giving it to the mainstream audience. But before you create an album that is so important in the history of jazz music, you need a team. So he assembled a team that that contained like a lot of superstars, like musicians that were already famous at this point, like John Coltrane on saxophone or Bill Evans on piano. And he took them and he gave them notes saying, okay guys, so this is what we're gonna play. This is how it works. They were kind of surprised because some of them, they saw it for the first time. And And then he said, and we're gonna just record it. You're gonna play this. We're gonna improvise. There's gonna be no rehearsal. We're gonna record it, and we're gonna have 2 takes, and then we're gonna mix this, and this is gonna be the whole album. So let's do it like this. So the thing is that it was a totally uncharted territory for all of them when they were playing this right now. They were playing this for the first time in their life. It's a really interesting idea that you have to make mistakes because this is something that you haven't done before, and this is also a new framework for them. And also, they didn't know each other that well. Like, if you think about famous bands like the Rolling Stones or the Beatles, they have known each other from the very early days, but this is just a group of experts, totally random, working together. So how do you manage such a group of individuals? The thing is that you don't manage. You just set a common goal. So he said that there will be fewer chords but infinite possibilities. And this is a quote that I really like. This is something that I believe in, that if you provide a group of people that you want to work together with a very simple framework and a minimalistic set of rules, then you can achieve a beautiful result. So he explained the purpose, set an expectation, and then let everyone improvise. So improvisation is doing something for the first time. And of course, in order to allow your team to improvise, you have to have a great foundation, which means that you have to build the improvisation on something. So what was the end result? The end result was a record that is considered by, I think, most of the music critics as the best jazz record of all times. And it was sold in millions of copies, because one of the good things about it is that it's also very easy to listen. It's very melodic, so it appeals to mainstream audience as well. And what Miles Davis did there, it's a kind of a leadership that I personally admire, and this is something that we at Spotify want to also implement in what we do, how we create the day-to-day job. So you cannot really manage creativity. You can only set a direction for it. And if you provide a minimal structure to achieve maximum autonomy, the results are going to be great. Okay, so this is Spotify, and this is Spotify as well. So it's a music product, and our goal is to provide our users with all the words music for free. Of course, it's not exactly all the words music, but we are trying to get there. And not always for free, but the elevator pitch is like that. If you try to explain it to someone, of course there's a paid tier, which is our I think 20% of our user base is currently paying for the service, which is a huge number, and it's very not common in the startup industry to have such a great conversion rate. It was founded in Sweden in 2006 by Daniel Ek and Martin Lorentzon. The headquarters is located in Stockholm, where also I live right now. We do support a lot of different devices, a lot of different platforms. So the most famous one is I guess the desktop client that you can install on your PC or Mac and use. But we also do support a lot of mobile devices. I think that the number of supported platforms is around 20 right now. And a couple of weeks ago, we just announced something called Spotify Connect, which is a protocol that allows that allows hardware manufacturers to actually integrate with Spotify. So for the user, it means that you can use your iPhone or Android device to control your home stereo. And also there is a smart part of this ecosystem, which is the web client. It means that you can use your browser and access your music collection, and if you work in an environment that for some reasons you cannot install this desktop application, you can use it. But the web client is important for me because I build it, and this is the part that I'm responsible for at the company. We have currently 24 million active users in 28 countries, and we've been in Poland since February this year. I was super excited when it happened. If you see some bad translations, I may be responsible for them. please give me feedback as well. And I hope that there are a couple of Spotify users here, so it would be good to also talk to you guys. And we are growing really fast. That's the thing, and we are growing on multiple perspectives. The first aspect of our growth is of course the user base, and the number of supported platforms is growing. The number of features that the product contains is growing as well. The size of the data that we collect. I think this is this moment that I can actually use without any doubts the expression big data. We use Hadoop clusters for that. We have millions of entities like a playlist or messages or stuff like that. But the most important growth factor is that we are growing in the number of employees, and this is what I'm going to talk about. And when I was invited to give this talk here by the organizers, they found on the internet this document that it's called Scaling Agile. It's a document written by an Agile expert, Henrik Nickberg. He is a consultant and he helps Spotify with implementing some Agile practices. And it's a really great document because he's an Agile expert. I am not an Agile expert, but I'm going to try to give you some ideas that we have implemented. All right, so I hope you can see those dots here. This is the number of employees in 2006. I will focus on the tech department. We have many employees, but around 40% of our employees is technology. And since this is something that I am working, and I'm going to focus on it. So we've been growing since 2006, and we've been growing to this point that in this year we have more than 1,000 employees worldwide, and 400 of them in technology. We have two biggest technology departments. The biggest one is in Stockholm, but also we have another one in New York City. And we have 400 people in tech. And what is tech exactly? This is developers, this is agile coaches, team leaders, DevOps, QA, TA. We have a special division called POPs, which is people operations. This is a group of people that their goal is to make all the employees happy. It's a nice team. I like to work with them. Yeah, so this is a lot of people, and the question is how do we scale it? How we can think about a model that works for a small number of people, the number of people that we started with in 2006, and then we can scale it to a size that it can fulfill a company consisting 400 technology employees, and how we can make all those people happy. And in order to find an answer to this, we should start small, which is me. I'm a part of this organization, and the thing about me is that even like when I learn about the process and I can participate in it, and I can participate in improving, all I know is what I see from my point of view. So I want to talk a little bit about how I am being motivated in the company. So how the model that we created is being used to motivate a single individual. And then we can scale it to make a whole team happy. And I'm not going to be using a word team because we like fancy names to use for some internal stuff, and we call the team squads. So I'm going to talk about squads and how we can make a squad happy. And we have in total 60 squads in technology, and this is what I'm going to talk about. So what is exactly a squad? It's a group of people working together towards a common goal. And it's a cross-functional team that is responsible for a single part of the product. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples. And this is our product, and the most common squads are something that we call feature squad, and they are responsible for building features. So, for example, one squad is responsible for building the artist view. So, if you go to Spotify and you search for an artist, like Justin Timberlake. You can see his biography and the list of albums and the tracks inside there and related artists. There is a single team working only on this feature. There's another team that is working on the iOS containers, so they are responsible for building the whole iOS client as a foundation, as a platform. They are not working on a feature, they are working on something that other squads can build features on. But the teams are cross-functional. It means that if there's another feature squad that is responsible for building the radio app, they're responsible for building it across all platforms. So the team that is responsible for building the artist view, they have also to build it for the iOS container and for the Android devices and whatever we have there. So they are responsible for defining the mission of what an artist view should be for the user, and they are responsible for building it everywhere in the client. How exactly those squads are organized, what kind of people and roles we have there, how they are working together. And before I'm going to talk about it, I'll focus again on an individual. So there are many different hierarchies and models for how to structure an organization, and I think people who are experts in this field can talk about it more, and the document that I was referring to also contains a lot of different information about it. But when we were building the framework that we use in this company, the ultimate goal was, of course, to make money. But then the second ultimate goal was to have a happy employee and a productive employee. And so a good model that I think that we can put on or build a company around is a model that if you ask random people, how are you, they will just smile. So we were asking ourselves, what motivates an individual who is working on a creative task? What is a creative task? I'm going to use one definition that I found in one book, and it says that a creative task is a type of a task that you don't really know exactly how to get from a point A to a point B when the task is given to you. And if you are working on this task, your goal is to solve a problem. But how you're going to get there to this point, it's up to you. So the biggest challenge is to come up with a solution that is efficient as well. So I consider programming or building products as a highly creative task. And there is a guy called Daniel H. Pink, and he wrote a book called Drive, The Surprising Truth About What Motivates Us. It was a bestseller, so it's not any more surprising. And everyone knows that. He also gave a really entertaining TED Talk. There's a link to this talk. If you don't want to read the book, it's good to see his TED Talk on this page that I created. And in this book, he explains why the traditional management model doesn't work anymore. And the traditional management model is a model that is based on tasks that are given to you, and is based on a set of rewards for completing a task, and it's based on measuring performance, those horror metrics that we don't want to use anymore. But it's very popular, this old model. But his mission is to explain to everybody that a modern work environment where people are working on non-trivial tasks, creative challenges, we have to use different techniques to motivate them. So he talks about 3 aspects of motivation. When you think about an individual and how you can actually motivate an employee or motivate yourself if you are struggling with a project and you're procrastinating, it's really good to think about what is essential to actually be motivated. And the book tells that there are 3 fundamental concepts and 3 fundamental principles, pillars of being motivated. And the first one, and this is the biggest one, this is the one that we as Spotify, we talk about all the time, we're crazy about, autonomy. Autonomy means an ability, an urge to direct our own lives. This is the formal definition. But in an office space, basically it means that you have a lot of influence on what you're doing. So it means that you're responsible for yourself, your work and your performance. And given an autonomy to you as an employee should make you productive and happy. The other aspect is mastery. It's a desire to get better and better at something that matters. So given a programmer, if you work with if you are building web apps and you have a chance to use a cool new technology, a cool new MVC framework or CoffeeScript, you want to nail this. You want to become an expert in it, and because this is something that motivates you. If you work with old technologies that you hate, you don't really have this desire to become better and better in fixing bugs or maintaining legacy code. So it's important to give this ability to master yourself as a programmer or even project manager or graphic designer. And then there is the purpose, and the purpose is this is the big picture, to know exactly where the company is heading and why the company is heading there. And this is also the belief that what we do as a service, because work is a service, is something larger than ourselves. So we build the organization model in a way that allows an individual to be motivated, or at least we are trying to do this. So in order to achieve that, we don't call the group of people a squad, we call it a autonomous squad. And this is something that we are trying to formalize and to improve on it. And this is why we talk a lot about autonomy. This is a crucial quality for us, and I'm going to talk about it. The way the squads are organized, the number of people that are working there, the roles that we have in such a squad, this is directly based on a concept of autonomy. So one of the first things that we said when the scaling process started is that we want to maintain the startup feeling in the company. So if someone's joined the company, regardless of the fact that there is 1,000 employees, you can still feel this energy and this vibe that this is a startup. There's a lot of fun. There are bad things about startups as well, like working a lot of hours. We don't want to do that. That's why it's a mini startup. Or if I can refer to the previous analogy, it's like a great jazz band that is just working very well. So we were using a lot this analogy of saying that this is the team, the squad, is a startup within a startup. We are not sure if this is the perfect representation of what we are trying to do, but I think it's good enough. So a squad is self-organizing. It means that when we form a team, a squad, the squad is responsible for everything. So what they start with is they start answering questions like, how we want to work? Do we want to use Scrum or do we want to use Kanban, or maybe just get shit done instead? It means that we can define what the work hours are. We can start later. Or we can start earlier if we don't like to sleep long. It means that how we gonna track bugs? Let's use Jira. No, we hate Jira. Let's use something different. We can use whatever tool we know. We define the process. So we use Git, for example. I think pretty much every squad is using Git right now. But the way we use Git for like the branching system, the release process, the code review process, everything is up to a squad. So in this sense, it is like a startup because we can use whatever we want. And the technology itself, we can choose it as well, to a certain point, of course. Because if you build a backend service that should handle millions of users using it, we should use whatever the DevOps prepared for us. So we are not yet allowed to use Node, for example, but I'm getting there. So it's a self-organizing squad, and also it's a cross-functional squad. So this is something that I mentioned earlier. So when we are building a feature, for example, an artist page, we should build it everywhere. But also it means that how we gonna what is an artist view? How it should look like? We need a designer. So we have a designer, and the designer is dedicated to work on this particular feature. And then he presents us with a first design, and we say, but this is not good. We think that our users may not like it. And what we do, we go to the user research department and we perform some early user testing sessions. But this is up to us to actually do it. We don't have to do those user testing sessions. But if we don't do it, the product will be not reusable. So it makes sense to do it. But this is a squad responsibility to take care of everything. And for example, we are building radio. And there is a backend needed for that that will allow us to track all the radio stations based on genre or playlist or whatever. We need to build a backend service as well. So we need a backend guy, and also we need to test everything. So we need a tester, we need a manual tester, and we need someone who's gonna write automated tests. This is also up to us how we're gonna do this. So we need everyone that a startup would need to build a product. But in this case, a product just is a small part of something bigger. Not all the squads are building features. My squad, the one that I'm working with, we are responsible for the web player. So we build a platform, a container for other squads to build features on top on. But the same rules apply here. We try to keep the number of engineers from 5 to 7. If there is more than 10 engineers, it's a good signal for us that something has to be done with the squad. Probably the squad should be split to 2 smaller squads. And also, if we are losing momentum, we should probably do something about it as well. But this is something that historically was proven at our company to be the most efficient setup for the number of people. And also there is something that is called Potluck. And Potluck, it's a trinity. It's a trio of three roles, three people: product owner, team leader, and agile coach. And those guys or girls, they are responsible for making sure that the squad is working autonomously. And this is a real-world example of a Potluck. This is Ricard, my team leader. This is John, my agile coach, and Miken, who is the product owner of our squad. And if you have a look, they are very happy on the picture. They're happy. They're happy because they don't have to work. Because it's such a good model that we do the hard work and they can just sit and drink and be happy. They're happy because they have a motivated team. But this is a very, very important concept of having those 3 roles in a team. So product owner, this is the guy or the girl who drives the work towards product and business objectives. Basically, if you think about a startup, it would be the CEO. Someone who understands what are the requirements for what we are building, who is responsible for defining the scope of what we are building. So it means that he says that we're going to build this, but most essentially we are not going to build this. So if we have any product-related questions and decisions to be made, he's the person to talk to. So there's this cool model called the entrepreneur and professor, and in this model he's the entrepreneur, and he's a dedicated guy. It means that For each squad, there's always a product owner, and the product owner is responsible for a single squad. There's no squad without a product owner. So the typical work of a product owner when a new squad is being formed is to build something that's called a product definition, which contains what is the project goal, what are the risks, what are the hypotheses that we want to prove, how we're going to do it, and then he's also responsible for communicating this to all the stakeholders that we have. So in this three-part system of what Daniel H. Ping wrote in Drive, is he's responsible for the purpose part. So that I, as an employee, as a software engineer, I know why I am doing this. And the other guy, he's called Agile Coach. He's not called Scrum Master because we don't have to do Scrum. And so regardless of what we are trying to implement in a squad, this is a guy who just comes to sit with us every morning, listen to what we are talking about, and he may say, "Oh, I can see that there's a problem here. There's a problem with a process, or there's a problem with communication, or with morale." He's just this good guy who is there to serve us and to make sure that the agile practices are being held and that we are moving towards a goal. So he can also measure cycle time, for example, and say that we are not, that the pace is getting slower. Or, for example, he may encourage us to release often, because shipping is also a very big thing for us. So in the model, he would be the autonomy part. He makes sure that there is nothing blocking us to do our work, and also that we are not blocking anyone else. And then we can ship. And there is the team leader, and he has a very simple role to make sure that everyone is happy. And how you can do this? How you can make sure that everyone is happy? In our case, a team leader is not dedicated to a squad. So a team leader is based on a skill set. So there is this assumption that someone who is being trained or have a lot of experience with, let's say, web development will be able to help us getting better in developing for web. And if there is someone who has a lot of experience with writing backend systems, he should be coaching people or being a leader for people who are writing backend systems. So we group our employees using the skill set, and we form something that's called a chapter. This is, I think those names, they come from some RPG games, but I don't really understand them. I have to use it. So we have chapters, and we have guilds as well. I think it's even more RPG. So a chapter is a group of people, also 5 to 7 preferably, with similar skill set that is being that are being led by a team leader. So the team leader is responsible for having a regular one-on-ones with all the group members, and a one-on-one it's a conversation like if you go to a psychiatrist, it would be pretty much the same. He asks you, are you okay? Are you angry? Are you happy? And what can I do to make you happy? He's responsible for the part of self-growth as well. So if I want to grow in a certain field, for example, I'm interested in a particular role or particular technology, he's the guy who should help me with that. He's a team leader, but he's not an expert. He's responsible for the mastery part of the Free Fire system, but he's a professor, he's not a teacher. It means that, for example, in web development, I know probably more about JavaScript than my team leader knows. But it's not a bad thing. His role is not to tell me what should I do. His role is to encourage me and make sure that if I want to grow in the field of JavaScript, that it's going to be possible. So this is definitely a role that involves a lot of soft skills, and
and he's responsible for mastering the craft that we are doing there. And also we do believe in autonomy that much that, it's a previous slide, that the office that we are working in was designed around this concept of autonomous squads. So everything in the company is built around this concept. It means that all the squads have their own area. It's like a small office that consists of course, of tables with computers. But also we have silent meeting rooms that is only a room that is dedicated to us as a squad, so we can only use this for our needs. We have chill areas and a huge wall that we can write onto to use this for stand-ups or to just draw silly things on it. This is Sarah. She's a TA. She's not happy on this picture. I think that it was the day that iOS 7 was shown for the first time. She don't like it. Yeah, it's not. He's happy. He's an Android user. You can see it's not a perfect picture, but it's all I got. But you can see that there is this area in the back of it that it's dedicated for a squad, and those are some strings. I don't know what's the purpose of them, but I guess it looks cool. This is my friend, and he's an example of a motivated and very happy employee. This is how a happy Spotify employee looks like. This is our goal. So how do we know that this model works? We don't know. But we try to think so, and we try to measure it. And measuring is a very important thing for us as well. So we do measure a lot of things. As soon as you have a metric, as soon as you can represent something as a number, it's very easy to focus on making it better. But happiness is a very difficult thing to measure. But we try to. So we have those quarterly surveys about autonomy in the squads. So every squad has to fill up the survey about how good they are with all the aspects of being an autonomous squad. And if there's anything wrong, we'll try to fix this. So this is also a real-world example. The team that built the artist view. This is how they think about their work. So they are happy with their product owner, and they're really happy with their agile coach. They're happy about being able to influence work. It means that if you as a developer, you can affect your work. So you can affect the technology choice, and you can affect the product itself, because sometimes the designer's idea may not be perfect. It's also important for you to feel autonomous, and also easy to release. And they're not happy about it. It's because they're releasing on our platform, the one that I've built. We are improving this. Shipping I think it's the most important thing. If you are not able to ship, the work just doesn't make sense. So we are trying to implement continuous delivery. I should be there listening to Patrick's talk right now and learn how to do it. But shipping with Spotify is difficult because there are so many dependencies on different platforms. Like shipping to Apple App Store, it's just waiting for weeks and waiting for App Store to review something. So it really makes the process really slow. So probably they are unhappy because of that. A process that fits the team, so everyone understands the process and can improve it. A mission, it's the part of the product owner's role, and also an organizational support. It means that if you need anything, the company should provide you with. So if you need a faster computer, it shouldn't be a problem to buy. And there is one more book. It's called Lean Startup by Eric Ries. It's not the only book about Lean, and probably it's not the best book about Lean, but it's the one that we've been recommended as an employees to actually read to understand what Lean, what does it mean to be Lean. And And I enjoyed this book. And for me, being lean means that everything is a hypothesis. It means that we don't know nothing. If we are building a product and there's a decision made about what we should build, how do we know if it's good for our users or not? We don't. It's a hypothesis. So our goal is not only to build something, is to build and then validate if this was the good thing to build. But it's not only about product. It's about the process as well. If we come up with a release process or like a branching system that we think is going to be good, we are never sure. It's just a hypothesis that we think that this will improve our life and our work. But our responsibility is to actually validate this and to if there are learnings, to share those learnings. And if we're going to decide on technology, let's say I'm going to say that Node is the future and JavaScript is beautiful, not everyone's going to agree with me. So this is my goal again to prove this. But it's a hypothesis, and I think that maybe what is also important is that we also think about the model that I'm talking about right now as a hypothesis. So those surveys is not only to improve the work and to make those squads more autonomous or happier, but it's also for us to validate if it makes sense. So we are not saying that this is like the ultimate solution that everyone should implement in their work. But this is something that works well for us so far, but we are still learning. So that's why we created also a model that encourages experimentation, because if you are talking about a hypothesis that needs to be proven and is proven or proven to be wrong after that, it's not longer a hypothesis, it's an experiment. And what we are trying to do is we try to encourage experimentation, or like Miles Davis is encouraging improvisation by building a platform that allows for that. So time to ship is important for us. And like having a good A/B testing framework is also important for us, because there's no better way in learning whether a feature is good or not other than just shipping this. So we are still learning. So if you think that I was totally wrong during the last 40 minutes, I'm not saying that you are not right. We are trying to make sure that this is the right model. I can only say that I, as an employee, I am happy there. And we're recruiting. You can be happy as well. Talk to me later. So Miles Davis said, when he was talking with a journalist after recording this album, he said that if you are not making mistakes, it means that you are making a mistake. So if you are not making any mistakes and errors, it means that you are not innovating, you are not experimenting, and you are not going outside of your comfort zone. And this is what we want to do. We want to be wrong, but we want to know why we were wrong. This is the album. Please listen to it. It's on Spotify. And again, there is a small survey on this website. I would love to get your feedback, so I can improve my slides as well. All right, any questions? I still have a couple of minutes here. Yes?
You said about a cross-functional team. Do you ever get a situation where people haven't got enough to do, or they're not doing what they really want to do?
Yeah, it happens. Yeah, it happens. So, for example, like there are. The question was, it doesn't happen because of the cross-functional team that there are people that don't have nothing to do anymore. So it happens. So, for example, when there is a major backend system being written and there is a lot of changes being made from the front end point of view, the backend guy may be bored. It may happen, but the thing is that if we get to a point that we think that we don't need this role anymore, and this is team leader's responsibility, it's probably a good idea to find a new squad in this case. It doesn't happen that often. There's always something to do and there's always something to improve. But and and you know how it is in a company that like everything changes so fast. There's always a lot of things to do. But maybe it's not even the team leader's responsibility to make sure that you have any work to do. It's your responsibility to communicate this, and his responsibility is to make sure that you're gonna have something to do in this case, right? Yes, it's a very good question. It's a question about how we ensure consistency across our product. Because if the squad is responsible for like a single feature, how are we going to make sure that the features are consistent? We have squads that are responsible for providing consistency. One of the squad is called Glue, and what they've built is they forked Twitter Bootstrap to create like guidelines and reusable CSS components that all the squads can use. So when there is a designer working on a certain feature, he has to talk first to those guys to make sure that the design is going to be consistent with all the design language. This is one thing. Another thing is that if you're building a backend, it's probably a good thing to use a technology that is already being used in the company and that it's proven to be scalable. We use a lot of Java for that. So if I'm gonna say, okay, let's build a node-based backend, no one's gonna allow me to do that. It's not consistent with what we do. But also, so that like for example, my squad's responsibility is to build a container that other squads can build feature on top of. So we also talk a lot of the different squads that are also building different containers on different platforms, and we are making sure that the architecture is never going to be the same because there are different platforms. We are not aiming to do the same type of work for a web player or an iOS container, but we are trying to do something that is at least similar. And we have a squad that is called Cosmos, and they are building an API that all the developers can use, and the API is supported on all the platforms. There are some differences, of course, but it means that if you run a request to a backend system, the way that the request is going to be built is the same on all the platforms. So this is another example of how we're trying to make things consistent. Yeah, I would say that those are the...
I put a question about the measurement. You told us that you are doing the survey across.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it is across the whole company or just across the one squad. How often you are doing those surveys? Are they across company, and do you use any particular software to help you with that?
Okay, so the question is about those surveys, autonomous squad surveys, how often we do them, and who is participating in those, and if we use any software for that. So how we do them? We do it actually in a very analog way. The Agile coach is coming to us, and we are having a discussion, and we are giving points to some of the aspects, but we also talk about them immediately. And I think they use Google Docs for that after that, nothing fancy. And it's being made quarterly. But I think what is important is that as soon as we have the results, this is communicated to the whole company. So the whole tech department is participating in this. I'm not sure about other departments because I don't know that much about their work. But this is being communicated to the whole company. And if we see that some metrics across the whole company are going down, and we are not, for example, happy with the way we are shipping the product, there is very often something being done to make sure that we can improve on this. So it's just a tool, it's just a survey. But I think that what is important here is that we are trying to improve, and we are open with the fact that we are not 100% sure if this system is going to work. But we are trying to learn, and we're going to share those learnings. We have different tools for that. We have a employee satisfaction survey as well, and we have town halls every third or fourth week. The CEO is explaining what's the strategy for the next quarter, for example. So it's really all about communication. And what I like also about the company, I'm not sure if it's something that's unique to Spotify or maybe this is just a Swedish thing. But everything is pretty transparent. We know a lot about what is going on, and this is something that I was surprised by when I started there. But now I'm really happy about this. Thank you. Any questions? Is there a special squad thinking about new features? Yes and no. There is a product department. So those product owners that are working on the features, they belong to a squad, but apart from this, they have their own department when they talk about what is Spotify and how we can improve it, and they are thinking about features. Sometimes they are building prototypes that we can, for example, ship to some user and they don't even know it, that there's something special with the product, or we can do just some user research. And there are some designers, UX designers that also build those, but I don't think that they are formed exactly as a squad. This is something different. So product is not the part of technology. Product where there is UX designers and user research and product, it's a separate thing, but we do work closely with them. So for example, we have a dedicated UX person. Okay, I hope it answers the question. Do we have time for more questions? Nope. Okay. All right, thank you guys. I'm going to be here all day, so if you have any more questions, talk to me. Thank you.